Hello and welcome. Who's going to vote in the US presidential election? Probably more Americans than in recent history if the polls are correct, and a large part of that boost in voter registration comes from young people. Why has this particular presidential race attracted the attention of the youth, and who are they backing? Well, let's get some idea from an interesting and politically diverse mix of young Americans. And MySpace has joined us to help bring together a good cross-section for our panel. You'll be able to view this show on myspace.com's Impact TV website. Well, let's get to our young American panelists. Janelle, I'm going to start with you, if I may, and mention you're a Republican. You're from George Washington University, and also very active politically. Now, why is it you want to see John McCain in the White House? Is it basically party loyalty, or do you expect something in particular from him?
I can be honest and say that he wasn't the Republican candidate that I endorsed to begin with. I was a big Romney person, probably from being from Massachusetts. But I feel that John McCain can best lead the country in the state that it's in now. I think that his opponent has a lot of great ideas for a sort of utopian society, but America has a lot of problems that need a realist to address them. So I feel that John McCain can more attack problems with a realist point of view.
Jared, glad you could join us as well. Now, I know you've got an interesting background, majoring in biology at the University of Kentucky, but you're also studying Islamic and Arabic studies as well. You're traditionally an independent, but you're going to vote for Barack Obama on this occasion. Why is that?
Well, when I look at Barack Obama, I see a person who can lead America into the future, into a new globalized world, because of his multi-ethnic background, his multi-religious background. And I think that in today's world, you need a very multicultural person to be able to navigate those waters.
You've traveled a lot, you've lived abroad. How has that changed your perspective, and also understanding Islam and the Middle East a lot more?
Well, it's changed my perspective a bit. It gives you a much broader perspective about the world in general. You're able to see different points of view in relation to how I view Islam.
Especially as it has a negative rap in America.
Yes, it does. I live in Lexington, Kentucky at the moment, which is a very, very traditional Caucasian community. And when I talk to them about Islam, they tend to bring out a lot of stereotypes like Muhammad is a terrorist or it's just a violent religion. And I've learned that this is just simply not the case. I've read the Quran several times. It's, in my opinion, a very fair and balanced religion that loves peace. And I know that Osama bin Laden's interpretation of Islam is just not based on the Quran.
And Christina, you're also in the situation where, from an independent perspective, you're now moving towards the Republican side when it comes to the vote. Give me the reasoning for that.
Well, I've actually gone to vote already. I did an early vote, and I voted for John McCain. And the reason I did that was primarily because I'm concerned about economic issues. My husband and I are working very hard to save for a down payment to buy a house, and we believe that John McCain will be best for the economy. He supports low taxes, and that's good for job growth, so that's why I voted for him.
Now, do you feel that either candidate, whoever gets in the White House, is really going to have that much slack to play with the economy to do anything?
It's definitely tight fiscal time right now, but I do think that John McCain will keep his pledge not to increase taxes beyond what they already are. A lot of Americans, when you look at all the taxes they pay, they send 40 to 50% of their income into some form of government. We don't think that should go any higher, and I do think John McCain will keep his pledge not to increase taxes.
Just want to point out that McCain's tax cuts are only for the extremely rich.
John McCain has said that he would keep the current tax cuts in place, and I would point out that every single tax bracket received a tax cut break from those tax cuts we saw in 2001 and 2003. And I think that they're working just fine. They've encouraged economic growth, and we should keep them in place.
We'll debate some of these things in a moment, so bear with me. I just want to bring Adam in here and introduce you, and thank you for being with us. You're doing a master's program at the Institute of World Politics here in DC. You consider yourself traditionally a conservative. Where does that leave you as far as what choices you have in this election?
Well, when the election first kicked off, I was supporting Ron Paul, who more represents the traditional conservative viewpoint. Obviously, he didn't win the nomination, and John McCain, while he's a Republican, Republicans are usually considered the conservative party. He isn't really conservative in my point of view, as far as certain issues that I felt were important. So I decided not to vote either for John McCain or Barack Obama, even though one of them will most likely win the election. I myself have actually already voted too, because I vote absentee, and I voted for Chuck Baldwin, who's the Constitutional Party nominee.
A lot of people would say that's throwing away a vote when the race is obviously so clearly between two people. That's, you know, now throwing away a vote going on the independent path.
Well, I think the way the American system is set up, it is seen that way because I don't think we can really have more than two powerful political parties. But I'm not the kind of person that's just going to vote for somebody because that's the only choice I have. I want to vote my conscience based on what I believe in.
All right. Amal, you're very politically active. Howard University here in Washington, D.C., and you're doing, I think, a political science major.
Mm-hmm.
You've been very actively involved. For what reason? Do you feel you can make a difference by getting involved in this campaign?
I feel like not only I can make a difference, but honestly it only takes one person to care. And basically I've seen that, like if you even look at Senator Obama's history or story, he cared about the south side of Chicago's community, and he did a lot of programs with the community, and he really changed a lot of people's perspective. And I feel like young people, for the first time, he's really politically engaging young people and saying that you matter, your vote matters. So vote, because you're going to be the one who's going to inherit the world's problems, not the baby boomers, but you guys.
Do you feel, though, that he can live up to promises when it comes to actually, if he does make the White House, can he actually live up to those promises?
I think the only thing you can do is ask for a candidate to do the best that they can, and a lot of times we do make big promises, but the thing is, he inspires people. And the thing is when people are inspired, a lot of progression comes around. Like if you examine President John F. Kennedy, he said we wanted to land on the moon, so that's what ends up happening. I feel like he inspires a lot of people. And I believe that through his inspiration, a lot more progression will come through, because there's only so much a president can do. It depends on Congress, and there's a lot of seen and unforeseen factors to see if certain policies will come through.
Emil, welcome as well. From University of California to the Howard University School of Law here. You also find yourself in a bit of a middle ground here, I think, in what to choose. Are you and other young people you know in your position given the kind of choice in this election that you would like to have?
You know, personally, I'm a registered Republican, and I've been a Republican ever since I could vote and since I was young. But I feel that, you know, John McCain, although he represents certain ideals of the party, he doesn't interpret the party the way I interpret it. And you know, political parties are just like religion; they're open to interpretation. And I definitely don't believe in a lot of Barack Obama's policy issues, and that's because I don't believe in some of the issues of the Democratic Party. But for me, I don't believe John McCain is the right choice, and I don't believe that Senator Obama is the right choice. So I'm actually stuck in this middle ground where I don't have somebody I can agree with 100%, let alone 50%. So
So what compromise do you make?
You know, I'm considering withholding my vote. I mean, I'm voting absentee, so I still have to mail my vote to California, so I will be voting on some bond measures and some other propositions. But when it comes down to it, I don't want to make a choice based on, you know, just somebody's political party, unless I agree with them personally, or, you know, based on somebody's popularity at, you know, within my age group.
Adam, what issues concern you the most in this election? What is it that you really want from the candidates out there?
I'm really concerned about national security, and it's such a broad, you know, concept. A lot of things fit into that. The economy, education is one thing we never talk about in this country, about having to deal with national security. Our enemies understand that education is important in national security. We saw that, you know, with the Nazis, communists. They sent people over here to infiltrate our schools, change our way of thinking. We see that today with the militant Islamism.
Is that the enemy now?
That's the greatest enemy to America, whether, you know, the people want to wake up and realize that this is happening or not. We see these videos with little children getting taught to hate, to kill, to blow themselves up, and they're using education to do this. You know, we have just down the street in Virginia a Wahhabi school that's teaching kids that it's okay to kill apostates, and
Now, are you sure they're doing that, or is this just something that the media has been? Because the media here tends to want to sensationalize. So I've read some of the reports, and there's a lot of people saying this is how the media handles it, and the actual truth is a little different.
Well, I know that a few years ago the school was, FBI went in and they looked for a bunch of documents, but it's only recently that people again start talking about, you know, based on books that they have, that actually say this that they use in their teaching. So I don't see how, you know, the media might want to spin that, but that's the truth of the situation.
Jared, go ahead.
I just wanted to point out that extremism in almost any form is very dangerous, and you see extremism here in the United States as well. I found that a lot of, I don't want to generalize obviously, but a lot of McCain supporters have held very extremist views towards Islam and the world in general. They basically think that the world's out to get us and that every Muslim is a terrorist, and it's just simply not true.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if I could jump in about something you had mentioned earlier, that Islam has a bad rap in this country. I think one of the problems that is the way that it is because we don't see the moderate, the peaceful Muslims coming out and showing the American people that Islam is not about war, that Islam is about peace.
I'll get you both in a second, but Janelle, you had your hand up as well.
I was just going to say, I don't think that that's true at all, because I'm a conservative and I know lots of conservatives, and I've never, held the view that it's one group of people, and I think that that's a very stereotypical comment to make about conservatives.
Janelle, how do you react to the feeling that the McCain campaign has pushed on this issue as far as attacking Barack Obama on that side, on the whole Muslim connection, the Hussein middle name? There's been a spin on it.
Right. I don't think that it's relevant. I think that we haven't gotten the whole truth from either side. But again, as long as it's nothing that's horrible, I don't think that it's relevant.
Okay, Amal, you had something to say on this.
I just wanted to say that I think a lot of times our stereotypes are due to the media. Because like he said behind me, that's extreme is like the minority. Like in every religion there's extreme people, but I feel like your stereotype against Muslims are due to the fact of television, of Osama bin Laden, but that necessarily might not be true. And it's just due to it's like you're going based on stereotypes.
Okay, Emil, you wanted to add something?
As you know, I am Muslim, and I am also a registered Republican, very involved in Republican politics back home in California, both in state level and even in the local level. I'm involved with our Republican Club, and post September 11th, I was actually asked by a local member of government, why did your people do this to us? And this is days after September 11th. And he knew I was Muslim, he knew me in passing, and I said, it wasn't me, I don't condone the attacks. And I understand that there are people that are fearful because, for example, they could be ignorant, and not to use that in a bad sense, but sometimes you're not able to get all the facts, and I can understand that there would be fear within you. But at the same time, I believe that there's other people out there. So when people come, my roommates are very staunch Obama supporters. So in my opinion, I would say that no matter what he could do, they would always stand behind him. But at the same time, I feel that it's almost a stereotype for them to talk about McCain as being such a bad person because he's Republican. Because his personality and his viewpoints are very different, and his party is also very different. So what he opines and what he does versus what the party does is two different things. And right now it seems that the Republican Party just has a bad rap, and if you are Republican, you're just a bad person.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'll ask you to stand by. We have more questions for you. We'll get some more on the views of these young American voters after this short break. Stay with us.